This is the Nations Conspire channel. Welcome to today's show. We are getting close to Davos 2025. The World Economic Forum will be holding their yearly meeting where they plot and conspire against the people of the earth. And it shouldn't surprise anyone that Donald Trump will be one of the attendees this year in 2025. Now, he'll be doing it virtually, of course, because they don't want the same stench that was on Donald Trump after attending in 2018 to be on him in 2025. You might remember in 2018 when they met at the World Economic Forum, he was speaking so highly of all his fellow globalists there, was shaking hands with Klaus Schwab. This is really before the alt-right media takeover fully took place. And since then, of course, we've seen how this alt-right media defends Donald Trump and speaks as if Donald Trump is against the New World Order. They've obviously used mind control to convince people that Donald Trump is against the deep state, when in fact, he's in bed with the deep state. He is the deep state. So everybody out there gave him a free pass when he was there in 2018. And then what ended up happening right after 2018, we got into 2020 and everybody knows what happened from there. I'm sure they weren't plotting, talking about a potential outbreak that they had planned for decades occurring in 2020. I'm sure they weren't talking about it in 2018 when Donald was in attendance, were they? Or talking about extra military protection for them too, if you know what he means. He's speaking about, of course, himself and the globalists and how our military is in place to protect them, of course, from us. They're not in place for these facades of world wars that they tell you are going to take place. They're there to protect the globalists, the corporations, the CEOs, the people responsible for all of the horror that we see going on around us, burning cities, burning people's homes, order out of chaos, all comes from these people. And of course, he's speaking about making the military protection better for us. And he's not talking about America.
Mr. President, I will ask you maybe a personal question, but before doing so, I just
sounds very interesting.
Acknowledge.
I didn't know about this one.
I would like to acknowledge the strong presence of your cabinet members here, who tremendously contributed to the discussions.
Good. I would like to do that. That's very good.
Yeah. Now,
Stephen, Wilbur, Gary, Robert, even my general and my various other generals, you know, we're making our military protection a little bit better for us too. So thank you very much. Does everybody understand that? I think so.
Mr. President, what is your message to the senators at your trial this week? Why is it better to be here in Davos than in Washington, D.C.?
Well, we're here meeting with world leaders, the biggest, most important people in the world, We look forward to being here. Klaus has done a fantastic job.
the difference of this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing. It changes you. If you take genetic editing, just as an example, it's you who are changed. And of course, this has a big impact on your identity.
And offers certain kinds of possibilities that have to be careful about. You know, when you began to do that kind of gene editing, some people worry that you are changing what it means to be human.
That's the problem. What the fourth industrial revolution will lead to is a fusion of our physical, our digital, and our biological identities.
And look, I guess in a certain way, I'm the father of the vaccine.
So, of course, yes, the father of the magic potion. And conveniently, that's one of the big things that MAGA just tries to forget about because they don't want to believe that their hero is in bed with the globalists. They'd rather get let off a cliff thinking that their hero is on their side than actually coming to the realization that both the left and the right are controlled. You see the crossover at these events like the World Economic Forum, where people like Donald Trump and then John Kerry and Joe Biden are in attendance. You see the crossover at the United Nations when those same people are there along with actors like Leonardo DiCaprio. It is a massive coup that is being played on the people of the world. All of these guys are working hand in hand. And what will be different this time around, I'll tell you right now, is that number one, Klaus Schwab stepped down from being the face of the World Economic Forum. And of course, this is because too many people started getting aware of what was going on at these meetings by actually listening to the things they were talking about, changing what it means to be a human, the fourth industrial revolution, the Great Reset. People became aware. And in order to get people less suspicious and more on board, they need to start changing the face of this. So Klaus Schwab stepped aside, and that's just for the public to change the image of the World Economic Forum. He is still fully behind the scenes in charge. But here is your new president, Borji Brende, who looks exactly how you would expect he looks, because they all have this creepy plastic surgery, weird looking vibe that they give off at the World Economic Forum. And the entire reason that Trump is likely attending this meeting, even though it's virtually, is that Donald Trump is likely going to put on a show. You may remember last year at the World Economic Forum, Javier Milei spoke to Davos. Of course, he played the role of being anti-Davos, sending a message to all the people there that they are the problem, that anti-capitalists are the problem. Everybody applauded. Javier Milei, of course, is following the same exact script as Donald Trump. They're playing the same exact characters. They are literally carbon copies of each other. They pose the same. They speak the same. They, of course, mingle with the same crowds. We see this guy from Argentina showing up in America, meeting with Elon Musk, meeting with Donald Trump. So this is really damage control that you're seeing. Donald Trump is going to put on a show. It's very clear. You can expect when this occurs, when he meets with them, that he's going to say that he's anti the globalists there, that he's going to take America away from NATO. He's going to say we're not going to do this green energy scam. And all the MAGA crowd are all going to cheer and applaud and fall for it. That's the only reason that Donald Trump is going to show up at this Davos meeting, because they want to get that taste out of MAGA's mouth. They want to make sure that nobody out there who is a conservative, who is pro-MAGA, who is pro-Trump, ends up waking up to what's coming. And they have these little things in their mind like Operation Warp Speed and Donald Trump meeting with Klaus Schwab that are constant reminders that they hear from people like me and you who talk about Trump being in bed with the deep state. So if Trump goes there or goes on this virtual call and starts slamming all of them, those people will finally feel at ease. Kind of like they staged that entire phone call with Donald Trump and RFK, which I exposed months ago, where somehow RFK's private phone call got leaked by his son and put on Twitter and Instagram. And Donald Trump talked about how they forced that certain something that they were putting in people's bodies, that they were forcing you to take and forcing you to lose your jobs over, that Donald Trump wasn't really behind it, even though he was bragging about it for months. And even a year after being in office, he was talking about and proudly saying he was the father of that entire Operation Warp Speed. He was the father of the outcome of that Operation Warp Speed. He was the one responsible for getting you those things that people were injecting into their bodies. And they need to do spin control. So they did it with RFK, and they pretended like Trump wasn't in bed with them and that he was opposed to the whole thing, even though he proudly bragged about it and all those people gave him a free pass. They'll do the same thing here. Expect him to follow the Javier Milei blueprint. Expect him to bash globalism, to talk about America becoming free and getting back to using natural gas and oil, and they have no interest in windmills and green energy. And then the media will take it and run with it, and it'll make Trump look like more of a rebel against globalism, because they're going to not talk about the key issue that they're actually speaking about at Davos, that Donald Trump is going to implement in America. And it's amazing that the headlines out there going into Davos from places like Time Magazine are what 2025 holds for the world. Davos, New Horizons. Because they're flat out telling you what's planned for you in 2025, what these people have planned for you. And the topic at this World Economic Forum meeting this year is collaboration in the intelligent age. The overall theme of the meeting, again, is collaboration in the intelligent age. Linked to this is the rapid technological advancements that hold both benefits and risks for society. AI, or artificial intelligence, and generative artificial intelligence, or Gen AI, obviously is front and center of our agenda. It is the super technology, if you will, that interacts with a lot of the other technologies. So in other words, they're going to be talking about moving forward with AI governance, because that is the overall theme of what they talk about in Davos. It is the structure. It is the fourth industrial revolution. It is the structure, the infrastructure of the New World Order. And again, don't forget what I discussed in regards to In Science We Trust, the Technocracy Incorporated, where society puts scientists in charge. You're starting to see the shift. There would be no politicians, business people, money, or income inequality. There will be all features of what technocracy called the price system, and it would have to go. There would be no countries called Canada or the United States either, aka the North America Union. Just one giant continental landmass called the Technate, a techno-utopia run by engineers and other experts in their fields. This is what they're building out. And they're not necessarily hiding it from you. They're just feeding the information the other way. So in other words, they're not openly talking about this system being in place, but they are, by telling you that they plan on using Doji, right, the Department of Government Efficiency that Elon Musk is going to run. They're talking about how that's going to remove these useless humans who waste our tax money, who sit in office, who do nothing, and are scandalous, right? All the stories we've heard about the scandals with all these people, from Lauren Boebert to Matt Gaetz, it's all being done deliberately so that when Elon Musk says we're going to clean this out, everybody out there cheers. And they say we're going to make it so you don't pay your tax money, waste all this stuff about the national debt. You'll hear about it going down, even though you shouldn't care in the first place because it's all make-believe. All this stuff they're doing by design to tell you that they're bringing in AI governance without telling you. You're accepting these things that they're saying. Yeah, let's get rid of them, right? Without realizing the solution is AI governance. Without realizing that while everyone's been distracted about what they do at the World Economic Forum, that the theme, the main goal, the nucleus of the fourth industrial revolution is AI governance. So that is what they'll be discussing while Donald Trump pretends that he's against these people, he's against woke policies. He'll say all these things so that you remain distracted and don't focus in on what they're actually discussing. So Trump will take part virtually in the event. Bors Brende, the former Norwegian foreign minister who now heads the organization, noted that Trump had attended twice the elite gathering of business, government, and other leaders in person during his first term. On Thursday afternoon, he'll join us digitally online, live in a dialogue with our participants. He said, we think this will be a very special moment, right? So setting it up almost like professional, right? Oh, it's going to be a big, great moment. We're all going to cheer and celebrate together. And Trump's going to come on there and bash all these people that the majority of the world look at as globalist scumbags, which again will make it look like while Trump is instilling the globalist world order, this new government structure, that he's actually opposed to it while he's installing it. That's the point. Brende said he didn't know whether or not Elon Musk will be in attendance. So we don't know if the Department of Government Efficiency's new face, Elon Musk, would attend, but said the forum expects additional high-level representation from the administration once confirmation processes for Trump's nominee get underway in the U.S. Senate is as early as Monday. So it's almost like the same topics every year, right? They don't talk about how they're really pushing forward with implementing Agenda 2030. They just tell you that they're talking about the climate, they're talking about artificial intelligence, they're talking about Ukraine and other wars that are happening. But there will be 900 business leaders along with 3,000 participants from over 130 countries. And that's what everybody should keep in mind. Business leaders meeting with politicians, bringing about corporate global communism. And Donald Trump will play the role that he was born to play, that he's been playing. He plays the role of alpha male, nationalist, anti-globalist, same like Putin does. Putin pretends that he's all about Russia, that he's not a globalist either. They're mirrors of each other, right? Even though Putin's got a direct connection to Klaus Schwab and the Young Global Leaders Program that's groomed people like Putin, like Justin Trudeau, to all play these characters who are all following what they're told to do. They're bringing about global AI governance infrastructure. So you won't get that out of the alt-right media as this event moves forward. You'll get some of the insane talking points that they'll discuss, which I'll cover on my channel as I do every year. I break down all the topics that they discuss because these are all things that they have planned for you. These are all things they have planned for us. They talk about it, of course, as if it's better for humanity, that we're moving in this direction for equality, all these words that make people think that what they're doing is in our best interest. But this is the definition of nations conspiring. They're meeting together, conspiring against us. And actors like Donald Trump and Milei pretend to be opposed to it because they can't have you thinking that they're all on board. So while you look at Trump and you say, he's opposed to them, what's this guy talking about? He's crazy. Watch what he starts implementing with AI governance. Watch what Elon Musk starts bringing in to the United States of America. Because the AI governance is the blueprint that the World Economic Forum has created for global control. That is the globalist world government. It is through artificial intelligence. So most people will watch it. They'll take probably some of the funny lines because that's what Trump does. He gives you funny talking points. He says the right responses. He says things to make people look like fools. The MAGA crowd look at it like they're watching The Rock or something on professional wrestling. They laugh and they cheer it on without even understanding what these people are talking about at these meetings because they go, I don't care what they're talking about because we're not doing that because Trump is opposed to it. But meanwhile, everything they're talking about implementing, Donald Trump is bringing in to America. And they've been doing all of this acting with the Democrats playing the bumbling buffoons to convince MAGA and conservatives that we need less human beings in government because the solution is more technology in government, as in artificial intelligence governance. So Claus won't be in attendance this year, but the Donald will virtually, and I'm sure we'll get a little cameo from Elon Musk as well, unless, of course, they think maybe that'll be too suspicious since the entire theme is artificial intelligence. Maybe they'll have Musk talk about how it's dangerous. He talks about how it's dangerous, yet he tells you to bring a humanoid robot into your home. Tells you how it's dangerous, but he wants you to drive his EV vehicles, which implode every chance they can get. So I will keep everybody posted on the World Economic Forum 2025, but Donald Trump will be in attendance, so stay tuned. I thank everyone for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families, as always.